Welcome, everyone, to the Live Well, Love Strong podcast. I'm super excited today because I have two people with me. I have Mary Elizabeth in the background. She's gonna be my assistant this morning, and I have Carol Keefe. And Carol is an Anat Baniel practitioner, so ABM. We've talked a little bit about that, and is one of the most intuitive therapists we've ever worked with Mary Elizabeth. And so I'm so excited to have her on this morning. And I want to just tell a little bit about how we found her. Carol is in Austin, Texas, and she has her own private practice doing ABM. When Mary Elizabeth was little, so probably 8 or 9 months old, like any mama with a new kiddo with cerebral palsy or a brain injury or HIE, I started researching, like how can I help her? What can I do? How can I fix her? That's what I was doing back then. And I found Anat Baniel, and I found her center in San Francisco, and I flew there with Mary Elizabeth so that we could take some lessons. And this was a time in our life when Mary Elizabeth was screaming all the time, like she was in a lot of pain. She had some gut stuff, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And so we had gone through, I don't know, like 11 PTs um, because she would just scream the whole session. And so I was kind of like very desperate at that point of, you know, if she's just going to scream, is the therapy even working? And so when we showed up at the ABM Center in San Francisco, it felt like a completely different vibe. And it didn't feel like I didn't have the same pressure as the mom to make her handle this session or make her do it or whatever. And for whatever reason, it all worked out really well. And so Mary Elizabeth tolerated the 30 and 45-minute sessions that we had at the ABM Center, and we started to see some improvements in her. And so over the years, we have done lessons with lots of different ABM practitioners. But we found Carol, I don't know, it's been like 7 or 8 years, and she's our favorite. She is who I trust implicitly to work with Mary Elizabeth after stem cells. We all, I don't know, intuitively are all on the same vibe, but it's like we're all kind of working towards the same thing with Mary Elizabeth. So that being said, Carol, welcome. Oh my God, I'm so glad to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me and including me in this wonderful podcast that you have started.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. And everyone has been asking about ABM. And so this is it, guys. Tell me, Carol, a little bit about how you discovered ABM and how you kind of got into the practice.
Well, for me, I started out in podiatry. So if for those of you who aren't familiar with podiatry, that's working with feet and ankles. And I went that route because I wanted to help people move throughout their life without pain or limitations. And as I was practicing, I kept feeling this limitation, like there had to be more, there had to be more. And it was just like this little voice in the back of my head. And when it really kicked in strong was when I got a baby with a club foot.
Mm.
So I I wanted to find something else, something more that I could bring to the people I was working with. So I was researching, and eventually found out about Anat Baniel. And Anat was, at that time, there was a video that I saw of a boy with cerebral palsy. And he was
Yeah.
a young boy with cerebral palsy. It was a series of lessons that she had done with him maybe over 2 months or so that was edited down into about a 30-minute video. and seeing this boy not only change his movement, but how interested he was in what they were doing and curious, and his face lighting up, his eyes had a twinkle, a sparkle to them. That to me was so different than what I had seen in the clinical setting of podiatry. And call it fate, call it synchronicity, whatever you want to call it, a training program happened to be starting at that point. So I signed up, and
Love it. Oh my
now it's
gosh.
been 15 years or over 15 years.
Yay. Oh my God. I love it. Okay. So what is ABM? Like, can you explain it on a level of people who aren't in the brain world, maybe new mamas who are newly diagnosed, their kids? What exactly is ABM?
And it's interesting that you say not in the brain world, because really we do come from the place of
Yeah.
thinking about the brain.
Right. Yeah.
What is this child experiencing? Because we can try and make them learn, but we can't make somebody learn. They're having their experience, and you kind of said it earlier, how when Mary Elizabeth was younger, how you were in the fixing mode,
Yeah,
wanting
totally.
to fix her. And it's, for any parent out there, it's so normal and natural to want to
Mm,
fix them.
yeah.
It's coming from your heart. Of course. And then we need to step back and realize they're not your car. They're not your washing machine. You
Right.
can't just imply a mechanical model to fix them. Because if we just talk a little brain, keep it simple,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
brain is an information system. It takes in all the stimulation and sensations and makes sense of them,
Yeah.
putting order in the disorder, so that you move from looking to fix the child to connecting with them.
Yeah. I love that.
And with connecting with them, you start to see, oh, she tends to keep her head to the left. Oh my goodness, isn't that interesting? Huh. I
Yeah,
wonder.
curiosity. Okay, I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
curiosity. Yeah. Okay, y'all. So when I explain ABM, I don't quite know how to articulate it, and Carol is doing a really good job of giving the feelings or the vibes or the intentions behind what we're doing with the movement. Anat wrote a book. It's called, then is it The Nine Essentials?
It's called Kids Beyond Limits, and it talks about the nine essentials.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
when I read that book, I bought that book right away and I read it right away. And I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't understand it. It seemed like the yoga. And I will say, people have listened to the yoga episode. Carol is the one who is like, hot yoga, hot yoga, hot yoga. Hey, Sarah, it's been a year. Have you done hot yoga? Um, but it was the same idea of like, slow down, pay attention, be curious. You don't know what you don't know. And I just wasn't ready for any of that in the very beginning. And now I see it, right? But it took me a while to get there. And the way that I think of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, or add if you think I'm on the right track, but just from a very literal standpoint, Carol is moving Mary Elizabeth's body in tiny micro movements so that Mary Elizabeth can feel the way her shoulder maybe is connected to her torso, or the way her right hip might be connected to her left shoulder. And so, and we're going slow, 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 so that Mary Elizabeth can follow it. But then also Carol can feel, like she said, does Mary Elizabeth tend to put her head more to the right? Or does she tend to, so she's feeling those tendencies in the body. And then she's trying to connect it so that it becomes more functional. Does that sound right?
That's great. And I love your honesty of in the beginning, you weren't ready for
Oh
it.
my God. It seemed like it, I knew that it was important because I'd been to the center and I saw the work, right? And I saw Anat, who, some of us are kind of intimidated by her, but like she was, I mean, she commanded Mary Elizabeth's attention, curiosity, and yeah, I mean, I don't even know how she did it. So I knew it was like important and I knew it was the right thing, but I didn't, my brain and my heart weren't ready for that just yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so you mentioned the 9 essentials, and just to, you know, and you started kind of naming some of them within what you were saying, because movement with attention, which is one of the essentials, and it's attention to the feeling of self. So
Mhm.
even as I put my hands on Mary Elizabeth, for instance, or anybody else who's listening on your child, I'm attending to not only how I do it, but and what I feel. That brings her attention towards it. We
Right.
become like one system, so that we are working together, and she's able to use my heightened ability to perceive differences to help her possibly start perceiving differences.
I love that. I want to piggyback on the We Become One system because this was probably a couple of years ago, but this sparked something in my brain. And we were working with Elisa, another practitioner here in the Houston area who we love and who is amazing. And she was sitting behind Mary Elizabeth on the table and they were moving like hip stuff, but what I noticed was that Elisa's hips were moving Mary Elizabeth's hips, or maybe Mary Elizabeth's hips were moving Elisa's hips. I wasn't quite sure after watching for a little bit, but they were one unit moving together.
Right.
I love that. Yeah.
And and especially if you're a new mom, but even if you're, it's your third child, you've got so much on your plate. You've got, managing the household, each kid, and then you have a kid with extra needs, and maybe you also work outside the home on top of it. You're in go mode for
Right. Yeah.
so many reasons. And
Yeah.
if your kid has a lot of medical challenges, you're on edge because they may, have a seizure or whatever it may be. And the idea of moving with attention, slowing down. Oh my goodness. I mean, to
It's so hard and it's counterintuitive initially.
it is.
Um, and so you have to really fight it and fight it. I mean, fight it. And then you can relax into it. But I think in the beginning, at least for me, my experience is that I had to really fight against the go, 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 go. Um,
And I think you named it, that being when you were at the center that first time, you saw how a knot grabbed, you said commanded, I think,
yeah.
Mary Elizabeth's attention. Whereas you said you went through 10, 11, 12, however many PTs, that she was just crying, and it felt, maybe, I don't know, you didn't say this, maybe it felt like a disaster, like, did we even get anything done?
Yes.
And here was a whole different experience. And even though maybe you didn't fully understand and you weren't fully ready for it, there was something in you that knew
100%. Yeah.
that,
My
you know
intuition.
what, this is working for her.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And I want to just shout out to the mamas about that. Your intuition is real, it's true, it's strong, it's always the right thing. And how do you know if it's anxiety versus intuition? It's not urgent, it's calm, it's a suggestion. It's just that little voice that says, what about this? What about this? What about this? Or it's that feeling of peace when you're not used to the peace, saying like, oh, this is comfortable, this is safe, or this is something you should try. Yeah, so I love that you mentioned that, because we, especially in the beginning, I feel like now I'm pretty good at feeling the intuition and following it right away, but in the beginning, um, they talk about something called decision fatigue in, in the psychology world, where you have to make a lot of decisions all day, and and regular people are doing it as well, and regular moms and business people have this same affliction. But in the special needs parenting world, man, it's so strong and so evident, especially in the beginning, because you're having to make what I say are life and death decisions right away, and you're having to make like 30 of them a day. And I always used to look around and be like, what? Who trusted me with this? Like, who said that I could do this? Like, this is crazy town. Um, but now with hindsight and with wisdom, I can look back and say I knew those answers. I didn't know them this way, but I knew them, like in my intuition and in my mom heart, of like, yes, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I love that you said that. And that is a real thing that is very helpful
And
for our babies, to make those decisions and to not stress about it afterwards, to know I felt that, I know it, it's true, it's right, we're moving forward.
and you you took that pause within yourself, and even if you're not 100% sure, observe your child. How do they respond to what you chose?
Hmm.
And it's okay if the response you're unsure or it's a definite no and you change course.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so what does a typical ABM session look like? Like, how does it work? Like, we show up to Austin, and what happens?
Chaos. No, I'm teasing. Um,
We come in hot every time.
which, actually is, because a lot of times I do have families traveling from out of town, and maybe they do come in and start lessons that same day instead of, coming in a day ahead. You know, each family has to make the decisions that are best for them and their family, even if it's not what I would think optimum of having an extra day to kind of land and settle before starting lessons. It is what it is. But once you come in, it's my job to create a feeling of safety. So making sure Mary Elizabeth feels safe,
Mhm.
um, any child feels safe, whether that means starting on the parent's lap, whether it means, they need to move about because they've been in the car for, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever. And they need to move about to kind of get the wiggles out. So that goes right back to connection
Mhm.
of, if there's safety, they're available for connection, and I'm able to observe what maybe they start smacking their lips like they're hungry. You know
Mhm.
what? Maybe they need a snack before we start.
Yeah.
And look, so I am responsible for creating the conditions that their brain can start putting order in the disorder.
Right. Yeah.
We spoke about some of the 9 essentials, and those are the kind of the toolbox, the resources that help me create the conditions where all of a sudden Mary Elizabeth, your child, anybody's child is starting to pay attention and noticing. If I turn a flashlight on in the middle of the day outside in the sunshine, you can't really tell it's on. At
Yeah.
night, if I turn it on, it's very obvious. So you've kind of got the two extremes. If I, I'm not a skilled designer, go to the paint store wanting to pick out a blue to match a swatch of fabric I have, I may end up getting 10 little tester cans to try and
Right.
figure it out.
Mhm.
Whereas somebody who's better at perceiving the different shades of blue, maybe 2, 3 cans and they've got the right one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay. So you are working on when someone comes to your office for their lesson, you're working on creating a safe space or a safe environment so that the child can start paying attention, can be curious. Um, what are, so we've talked about a few of the 9 essentials. What are some other ones that you use in your
Oh,
practice?
s- so subtlety, which is reducing the force, going gentle. And I want to kind of preface this with all of the essentials. They're not a hard and fast. It's not always slow. There may be times that we speed it up,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not slow as that's the only speed we go.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do I speed it up, slow it down, be louder, be softer to help the brain of your child begin perceiving the difference. And from there, they can discover and create their own solutions.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Tell me about a time where you worked with someone and you felt like, wow, this went exactly how I was hoping it would go.
I don't know if it ever goes
Or
exactly
or exactly how it
because
was
a lot of
supposed
times I
to
don't
go.
know.
Right, yeah. Do you have any stories where it was like, oh, this is going to be tricky, but it worked out? Or do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say most are this is going to be tricky because it isn't a formula. It is truly a discovery. And it's, kind of like I said, with you making decisions, I may start going one way and then, it, you know, I lose the child's attention. So, okay, I'm going to shift course. And where do where do they start to engage again?
Hmm.
So it makes me think of a little girl I work with when she first came. She was about 2-ish, cerebral palsy, cortical vision impairment. And if you don't know what cortical vision impairment is, when the vision, it's not a problem with the eyes, it's the way the brain perceives the information
Right.
coming
Yeah.
into
No
the vision.
structural problems, just brain stuff.
And um, this little girl, she just kept going into extension. And if you don't know what extension is when they throw the head back. In this case, the arms, the elbows were bent with the hands up by the shoulders and the fists real tight. The
Mhm.
legs are crossed and tight, and the
Yeah.
back is arched. And if you can't, from my words, get a sense of the feeling, it's just like this rigid board that is in a very fixed position. As you can imagine, it's very uncomfortable. Um, she couldn't sit in her car seat, she couldn't be in a stroller. It was really hard for the parents to hold her because it just would repeatedly happen. So I
Yeah.
started working with her in the parents' lap. That was where there was the most safety to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I gently, using a soft voice, because a loud voice, a sudden movement, all kinds of things would just set off the child going to into extension.
Yeah.
Do you need to attend to her?
I think we're okay. I feel like we're
Okay.
making it.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, this is the real life
Yeah.
for a mom of a child with special needs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
You know,
Yeah. Mary
the
Elizabeth loves.
saliva is pooling, she starts choking. You need to attend to make sure she's not gonna, you know, start to throw up and then have a seizure.
That's right. I don't think we are. I think we're gonna do okay. Miss Carol's talking about you. Yeah.
And through me, I mean, initially me putting my hands on, saying where I was going to go. And when she went into extension, I went with my hands and named up because the child
Mm,
moved away from the parent up and back. And then as she came down, I followed with my hands and said down. And 2, 3 times, and I could see she was starting to anticipate me going with, and then there kept started to be more and more space between her being able to sit in the parent's lap versus just going into extension.
yeah.
After many, many lessons, now she's able to sit in a car seat and be in the stroller, which is a huge change in
Huge, right.
her life, in the parents, the family's life,
In the quality of life
in
that
the
they have.
quality of life. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's not comfortable to be doing that either.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that. Guys, we work, it started a couple of years ago because I didn't put Mary Elizabeth in her wheelchair initially. I just carried her around. And once she got a little bigger and the wheelchair was just a must, it just had to happen. Of course, I was dissatisfied with the sitting in the wheelchair and the slumping and the moving and just yeah, it just didn't look comfortable. It didn't look healthy. I felt like, oh my gosh, we're gonna definitely end up with scoliosis and or contractures. So for new mamas, contractures happen a lot with people who are spastic, tight, stiff, and they're doing this same motion over and over again, right? And then their hand or their wrist gets stuck that way. That's a contracture. And so I wanted to make sure that Mary Elizabeth didn't have any of that. And I would bring her to Carol and take her out and put her on the table. And one day Carol was like, how about we do a session in the wheelchair? And this was, I mean, I didn't tell you about this, Carol. This was probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And I was like, that is like my initial reaction was like, absolutely not. Like, I want you working on her whole body on the table. Like, that's why we're here. But I knew enough at that point, hot yoga, Carol's hot yoga, y'all. I knew enough at that point to trust that Carol knows best for the most part. And so we did a session in her chair. And when I tell you that it made our life so much easier, it made Mary Elizabeth's life, it made my life, it made Brittany, who helps us, our quality of life of getting her in and out of the chair and the way she's sitting and the putting the straps on. It's like she was just like so much more comfortable in her chair. And so now we do at least one session in the chair every time we see you. Sometimes we do multiple, but I don't know why I just thought of that. But that
Well,
was
and most times it's she's in the chair for part of the time and then on the table and then back in the chair. Because again, it's that perception of a difference because here she was in the chair. I did what I did. Then she's on the table. I do what I do on the table and then get back in the chair. And is she holding her head differently? Is the way she's sitting on her sit bones any differently? Is she less leaning to the side? And bring in what she's felt and maybe perceived back into somewhere that she goes into, the wheelchair, to see if there's a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely a difference, guys. We worked with Carol this past time in our chair, and we are not using that headrest, Carol. We're just using the body strapping. And I think, I mean, y'all have watched, this is a good 30 minutes that kid's head is up. And
She's been bringing, she brings it down, but it's not that, for those people who don't know Mary Elizabeth, many times the head would just drop down.
yes. Yeah.
And the idea of bringing it up, I mean, our head is heavy,
Yeah.
and she's using more of herself, her pelvis, her spine, and she's listening very deeply to what I'm saying to
Right.
bring her head up. And she's had it up and looking. She's been turning the head side to side. She goes down a little, she comes up, which is what we all do. I don't keep my head in one position.
Yeah, no, right. She's doing more normal, and her shoulders, I don't know if you can tell from where you
Right.
are, but we're not like leaning on it. It's like we're kind of like sitting more normally. Uh,
So her brain has figured out how to kind of manage herself in gravity, in sitting.
yeah, yeah.
And
So,
it's,
and
I can't make a child do that. And those of you who are watching, Sarah moved her head forward because she's worried about her aspirating.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. No,
and
right.
and we
Typically,
wouldn't want to just move the child's head
yes,
just because. But I know, I've been with Mary Elizabeth and Sarah enough to know that she's concerned about the aspiration, so she's doing that. And typically she would tell her, I'm going to bring your head forward.
totally.
It's
Yeah, and
part
let's
of part
talk
of
about
connecting
that
is
too.
letting them
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah. So initially, y'all, when we first went to the ABM Center in San Francisco, we did the therapy, and then like in between, I was like, "What are we supposed to do?" And they were like, "Just lay her on the floor and love her," And I was like, "Okay, well, really? Like that's it?" And they're like, "Yeah, just observe, and but." And then they said, everything you do slow, right? So I was like changing diapers fast, and I mean just was moving in fast mode, so it's like slow down, um and then just observe. And yes, if you're going to be moving her body for her, you're supposed to give them a heads up to let them know. And I do a lot of narrating for Mary Elizabeth throughout the day, but I'm not as consistent with it about the head thing. But I'm glad that Carol mentioned that, because that is one of the it's another one of the essentials, right? What am I talking about?
Well, I mean, it's kind of movement with attention. It's also, connecting with them, but they have their experience, and that's what they learn from, is their experience. If somebody's always just pushing their head, or boom, they get picked up, especially a child who has challenges with seeing, all of a sudden they're picked up at it, they don't and see it coming, it's jarring.
Yeah.
And it's that letting them know, giving them a chance for those words to kind of settle on them, and maybe they make sense of it, maybe they don't, but then you start to, pick them up or move the head forward. And if you start bringing in slow with that, they may join you, they may
Yeah.
do part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so that's something that still as a mama I still work on. But I think I have most of it unconscious, where like if we are doing big stuff or we're moving, or if we're going faster than what we should have, I'll say, "Hey, we're in a hurry. I'm just going to knock this out real fast." And whatever. And so but it's taken me years to get there. So it's tricky. It's
And
hard stuff. Yeah.
you asked about a typical session. I mean, in a session, I will coach the parents, and because maybe they've read the book and they're starting to do the essentials, but I see some fine tuning they could do at this stage of their growth, their growth as the parent and in their child's growth. And I think that's one of the things that um, I'd like to say. We've kind of danced all around it, but you're on this journey with them and how you interact with them, because you're with them the most time and you're the most important person in their world. And how you are with them is what they experience.
I love that. And that is, do all do all ABM practitioners feel that, focus on that, know that? Is that a Carol thing?
That is a big part of the training. And, I am part of the teaching staff. So we definitely focus on moving from fixing to connecting. And there's been, it'll probably run again. I don't know when, a course that's online called From Fixing to Connecting. That's for parents, caregivers, um, professionals, whoever wants to take it. And there's, each week we focus on one essential and how to apply that with your child.
I love that,
And then we
guys.
have calls where we'll even, talk about it and answer questions because they seem so simple.
Yeah, it
And when
does.
you try to do it, it's like, how do I do it with my child?
Yeah, right. It's so hard. And it it's only been the last few years that I've really internalized that truth of, what I'm doing directly affects Mary Elizabeth, good, bad, ugly. And so um, my central nervous system directly affects her. The way that I move about my day with her, and even when I'm not with her, directly affects her. And it took me a really long time to realize that. And I will say, like Carol, and yeah, I guess everyone's teaching this, so this is great with ABM of take care of the caregiver,
Absolutely.
because the caregiver, if even if you don't care about the caregiver is creating whatever it will be in this child, whether it be calm and peace and love and safety, or chaos, disruption, aggressiveness, whatever it is that's spilling out of me is going directly into her and the people around me. And it took me a minute, like I could hear it and I could even agree with it, on an analytical level or in my mind, but it took me a lot of years of practicing and discernment to really see it and internalize, like, oh,
Yeah.
I have to be on my A game, but my A game looks different than what I thought my A game was. But I still have to be on it for this sweet little precious queen right here. So, yeah,
And and that's where, hot yoga
yeah,
or whatever it is that floats your boat, whatever's nourishing for you, whether it's a nap, a walk outside, whatever. E- And I think this podcast is a great start of parents getting resources. And my suggestion would be to share this podcast even with people who don't have a child with special needs, because then they could start to have a little window into what it's like for you.
yeah.
And they may say, hey, can I watch your child for a little bit? Give you a
Oh,
break.
I love that.
They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so true. And people don't know what they don't know. And we talk a lot on the podcast about building community and building our own support system. And a lot of times we're building it within our own small, tight knit community. but really we need the help and support and love of people outside our community. And you are right, they don't know unless we give them that information and we offer that to them. And I always thought, you said that, how can someone help? I've always thought, like, even if someone came over and read a book to Mary Elizabeth once a week or twice a week for 30 minutes to 45 minutes, that would change our lives. And I have a lot of help compared to other people. It's still overwhelming, don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
I'm very lucky in the sense that I have more help than a lot of mamas. And so if they had that in their life, where a church or an organization or a group of people got together and said, we're going to adopt this special needs family and, really help them the way that they get, I don't want to say excited, that's not the right word. The way that people get involved and move to action when someone has cancer or is sick, or someone gets in a car accident, or some really horrible tragedy happens. There's lots of support and rallying of communities around them. But I find our situation is quite unique because it's not a one-time thing, and yet there are acute situations happening, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, monthly, just depending on, the way that your person or your child, you know, acts, or, what happens with their health. And so I've always thought about that. I don't know quite how to make that happen, but that is something that's been in my heart for just the longest time, of like, how can we create a group of people outside our community that kind of have an understanding of what's going on, and then are really coming in to help in a way that is sustainable and is and like changes our lives. And I think it would be that easy, really, of like, hey, I'll take that family and I'm going over there a couple times a week for a couple hours. Like, I think really that's all it would take. So thank you for bringing that up, Carol. And I just do a general call to action to my listeners, especially if you're not in our community and you love someone in our community and you're hearing this. That's so needed. And I think a church type space could do it really well. And so, that is something that, wow. Yeah. Sorry, I got
And
off track for a
and
second, but
that's
that's really,
yeah, it's very near and dear to your heart.
yeah,
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good, because we don't typically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you don't even know where to start. And I think that's the other part of it. But I also think that's the barrier to other people helping, is like they don't really know where to start either. And so it's like, how do we start? But I mean, this is what I'm thinking. Like, you could
Just
adopt
come
a
over
family
and
2, 3 hours a week, set up a schedule and come over. And whether it's reading a book or it's pushing them on the swing outside or taking them it's whatever that family needs.
we're doing the dishes.
Or doing the dishes, oh my god, yeah, or bringing dinner, all of that sort of stuff would make a very big impact in the life of a family of a kiddo like this. So yeah,
Absolutely.
love that. Okay, Carol, what else about ABM that we didn't kind of talk about that you think would be important for our listeners to hear? Anything? We're usually mostly talking to new mamas and or families who haven't really had experience with ABM yet. And so
So what I would say then is I would say start with the book, Kids Beyond Limits. It's also available as an audiobook because I know many times you don't have the opportunity to sit down and read a book. So listening while you drive, while you're doing laundry or the dishes, and start to apply the 9 essentials with your child
Yeah.
and observe. You know, wow, it's really easy for me to um think of variations, but I cannot slow down. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm not slowing down. Maybe I could do 1 notch down from my speed. Not
Hmm.
that it has to go 10 notches, but go 1 notch. And
Yeah.
you spoke to it that it took you a while, and it is a process. It's a process for all of us. And being gentle with yourself as you're starting to apply them and seeing how does your child respond? Do they start paying more attention? Do they get curious and interested? Is is there that anticipation
Yeah.
of what you're going to do because you've slowed down, because you've paused, you've started to take their put their shirt on and you paused before even getting it over their head. Do they start to wonder, hey, what happened? Where's the shirt?
Oh, that's so good. I'm doing that tonight. I like, yeah, that's so good. Okay, I love it. Oh my God. Okay, Carol, I am just tickled pink to have you, and I just love everything about you, and I'm just so excited that we found you, and now that we can share you um, and your wisdom and your knowledge. You saw me do it. I know. I just
You
barely touched it though, and it flopped down on its own. So in my defense,
and as you know, and but I want to say to all the parents, there's no judgment. No,
right? Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. And I
it's
just said
it's
that
an
too.
observation and an opportunity to notice and possibly do it different next time.
Totally. And I like how she said it's an opportunity to notice and possibly do it different. And so that is the vibe, y'all. It is very like, hey, how did that go? Could it be different? Would it look different? What would, like it's just very go with the flow, easy, what I would call living in the Christ consciousness of the world. Like we're just kind of like, floating down the river. And so I love that. Carol, the last question I ask all my guests on my podcast is what are you doing right now to live well and love strong? Is there anything specific you're doing?
I Yes. For me, it's getting out in nature. That helps me ground. It helps me stay connected to my heart
Mm-hmm.
and continue to come from a place of empathy because I sit and look at things in nature and how the plants, even though someone's trampling on the plants, it changes and grows in a different direction and still is able to become the tree. And to me, that's similar to what I think about of the work with the kids is there's some interruption, whether it's cerebral palsy, a genetic disorder or something. And we're looking to how do we enter and help that brain do its job better,
Yeah.
awaken and start creating those new patterns so that they can discover their next new skill.
Yeah. I love it. Oh my God. I love that. Thank you,
Thank
Carol, for your
you.
time, for your wisdom and your beautiful energy. We're just, like I said, I'm just grateful to have met you and am really excited to let everyone else know about ABM and the wonderful practice that people are doing for our kiddos. And Carol specifically, she is yeah, one of the best, and she teaches for them as well. And so hopefully this was beneficial for the mamas. And yeah, we'll catch you.
And if they want to find a practitioner near them, if they go on the Anat Baniel Method website, there's a find a practitioner and they can search in their area.
Love that. Yeah. And there are also like Carol said, I'm assuming the course that you were talking about for parents
Yes.
is different than the actual training for a
Yes, it's an
practitioner.
online course that they can do either, that they can do at home.
I love that, guys. If you have the resources and the time to do that, it would be the thing I would recommend the most is to take it, familiarize yourself with the essentials and familiarize yourself with like how that fits in with you and your kiddo and your home and your life and how, how you're living. So thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I, of course, enjoy working with all the families. And, you know, I gain so much
Yeah.
by working with the kids and the families.
Yeah, I love it, guys. We're doing good stuff over here. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next week. All right, bye, Carol.
Bye.